Once upon a time, a young movie Bob was working his first job at Video when a box arrived containing a new release called The Boondock Saints. This being the age of dial-up, nobody had heard of the damn thing, but it was an action movie set in our native Boston, so it certainly rated a look. A friend and co-worker of mine took it home and subsequently returned with an aura not unlike that of Charlton Heston after conversing with combustible shrubbery, all but dubbing the film akin to The Second Coming to anyone who would listen. Similar scenarios played out across the Boston area and evidently the rest of the country, and slowly but surely a bona fide cult hit was born. The film then achieved full-on infamy with the release of Overnight, a documentary following the public clash of wills between first-time writer-director Troy Duffy and Miramax mogul Harvey Weinstein, which was apparently to blame for the film's initial obscurity. Whatever may or may not have been true about that situation, long-term vindication lately seems to be on Duffy's side. 8 years later, he's pulled his career and nearly the entire original cast back together for All Saints' Day, a sequel that manages the difficult task of adding greater depth and dimension to the story and being an unapologetic love letter to the loyal following that made it all possible. It's bigger, it's badder, and the fans are gonna love it. For the uninitiated, Sean Patrick Flannery and Norman Reedus have the title roles as a pair of sibling Irish Catholic Boston street toughs who believe they've been called upon by God to exterminate organized crime. The sequel finds them summoned back from exile in Ireland to take down a new crop of gangsters and an unfolding multi-generational conspiracy that soon enough even rates the attention of the Saints' even more dangerous father, played by the legendary Billy Connolly. The main recurring gimmick of the series is that we arrive on the scene of most of the Saints' bloody handiwork after the fact, and then see each action scene played out at least twice. First, either from the comically off-base theories of police investigators, or in the balletic John Woo meets Sergio Leone self-aggrandizing fantasies of the Saints themselves, followed by the real events wherein our hapless heroes frequently blunder and luck their way through the shootouts. This time around, we also get some more somber and serious beats and period flashbacks detailing the origin story of Connolly's old-school badass. Taken on its own merits, it's still readily apparent how the series managed to garner the specific cult following it has. A story of frustrated young men meting out cosmically warranted vigilante justice and having a grand time doing it, it plays hard and heavy to the empowerment fantasies and insistently rigid concepts of honor that inform the psyche of the angry 14-year-old boy lurking in the heart of all true blue action junkies. And even though the indie action world is literally overflowing with the stuff, the unique combination of dark comedy, Catholic angst, and unabashed nostalgic longing for old-time macho swagger continue to make the Saints stand out from the crowd. The original film, of course, was far from perfect, and the sequel isn't without its share of basic problems. Despite the fun to be had with the shifting perspective gag, the actual gunfights still aren't the most original in the world, though they remain consistently exciting. A more substantial issue is that even with the myriad plot twists and surprise revelations, it's structurally somewhat a remake of the first film right down to the supporting characters. Julie Benz stands in for the original's Defoe as another FBI agent tasked with tracking the heroes, while Clifton Collins Jr. manages to shine in a sidekick role clearly paralleling Part 1's David Delarocco. Boondock Saints fans, granted, don't need any of my input to get them into theaters for this one, but as for everyone else, I'd say if you're an action fan starved for something a little new and different, you could do quite a bit worse than checking this one out, though you'll definitely want to rent the original first so you know who everybody is. It's a well-made, quirky action film infused with a grim sense of humor and buoyed by the engaging performances of the two leads, whose easygoing chemistry never stops being fun to watch. Look, I can't say I've ever fallen completely in love with the cult of Boondock, but I know a fun movie when I see one.
That was one of the finest examples of spiritual guidance I've ever had the good fortune to witness.
Oh boy, ask a Boston film critic about Boondock Saints and Troy Duffy. This was a comeback story when it came out. It was a big deal. At the time, not included with this video, obviously, but at the time that this came out, there was also like an interview piece with the actors and the director. This was after both the original movie and the documentary that had come out about the rise and fall and improbable rise again of Troy Duffy. Since then, that was the documentary that was so long ago that it was like the revelation of Harvey Weinstein screwing over the makers of the movie. Was the, oh wow, Harvey Weinstein is a real asshole, wow, who knew, was like a big bad guy thing in that one, and then later on, all of the other stuff begins to drop on those lines, and it's just a, it's been a long time. Neither of the Boondock Saints movies really hold up very well. They fall into that category of early 2000s edgelord stuff that is very hard to take now. Troy Duffy has had fits and starts, almost comebacks again. I have no idea what he's up to right now. They work as low-budget action Tarantino wannabe, basically overlong Western V-cinema, where if you chopped out all of the wannabe profundities and guys, monologuing about Catholic machismo stuff, you'd have pretty good budget Bostonian shoot-em-ups, and it's fun to watch Billy Connolly do his thing. I don't think that they are the worst thing that ever happened, despite them being beloved by some of the worst people you'll ever meet, but they are a window into a particular psyche at a particular point in time, which now feels almost archaeological in terms of how many turnovers there has been in the ideological alignment of, the obnoxious bro action cinema stuff, so I'm not even sure where. They're almost post-ironic in their obnoxiousness, but they are a good time, and Willem Dafoe is, of course, delightful in the first one. It's an interesting moment in time. Two different interesting moments in time is Boondock Saints and the inferior but interesting Boondock Saints 2.